right. Well, I think it's time to build the brewery. This build has been a long time coming. The structure's been sitting here with blue tape on it, gosh, since the fall of 2017, I think, when I first started putting the shelf layout that later became Manchester together. Originally, the building was going to have a little wing that came out this way, but that photo backdrop just looks so good that I think I'm just going to put a little scenery here and blend it into the backdrop and just have the scene sort of stop there and kind of utilize the fact that there's buildings and stuff on the backdrop here, and this is sort of the edge of town here. So, I've got the little, shanty, shed, whatever, for the railroad employees and stuff that work here in Manchester. So I think I can make that scene kind of look like the edge of town there. So I'm just gonna work. I think what I'm gonna do is just modify the kit that I have. It's the American hardware supply from Walthers. And all I'm going to do is cut the sides down. So the kit is a rectangle. It's supposed to be finished on all four sides. I'm going to turn it into a flat. So I measured this distance from here to the backdrop, and that's 70 millimeters. There I am using metric again. It's just easier to work with. If you had asked me in a vacuum what 70 millimeters means, I wouldn't, I know it's fairly small, but I wouldn't really know what it meant the way that, those of us in the US would know inches. But in terms of measuring and stuff, just instead of having to, think about, something in 15/16 or whatever, it's just so much easier just to 71 millimeters or 70 or whatever it is. So it works out that it's a nice even 70. So I'm going to go over to the bench and show you what I need to do. So these are the two main side wall sections, and all I did was come in from the side and come over 70 millimeters, and I marked off there and then here for the one that's on the other side. And now I just need to cut them down to size to fit in the spot. And this is the kit that I'm rating for the brewery. So we'll have the front piece here, like the water tower and the little elevator stairwell thing to get up on the roof. The cuts I just showed are going to be sort of right in there. So that's about how deep it'll be. And the front panels and stuff I can use for another flat somewhere or part of another kit bash. So that's the plan. So I was thinking about doing this build a while back. I thought maybe I might open that door and try to, in this interior here, not detailed, but just I've got an interest in craft beer and brewing and everything too. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to show, some of the tanks and stuff that you might be able to see if the doors were open, looking into the inside of a brewery. And these industrial tanks, this one and this one in particular, if finished with like a shiny metallic aluminum or sort of stainless steel type color, I think both of these could pass as brewing vessels, and maybe even those two sort of behind them. So I picked this industrial tanks setup a while back as I was thinking through this build, and I think I'm gonna maybe prop those two doors open, make these look shiny and new like it would inside a brewery, and pop them in there just for some interest. These other tanks I can use somewhere else. The other thing that you probably would find around a brewery this big, I just pan the camera around behind me. So the building is going to be here, but this space in here, I was thinking about, you might find a small conical, inverted conical tank out in a spot like that. It'd be a grain silo. And I do bring this boxcar represents a load of grain coming into the brewery. So thought it might be kind of cool to have a grain silo there, and something coming off the bottom of it, maybe going underground and into the brewery. I'll think through that, but yeah, maybe just something like that right here. Haven't picked that up yet. All right, so maybe a little change of plans cutting here. What I've been doing is holding a straight edge against the line I made, and then running a very sharp X-Acto number 11 brand new blade over and over each little section. But this is really thick styrene. And even though I've run over that a bunch of times, I'm just barely nicking it. So I think I'm gonna get out the razor saw and take it out that way. All right, that wasn't too bad, using a combination of the sharp X-Acto blade and then the X-Acto saw. Kind of used the blades for these, well, kind of ran the blade over and over all of them. These middle ones are thin enough where they snapped, same with there, but up here, the plastic gets a little thicker, there's some trim and stuff, so using the X-Acto line as a guide, I just grabbed the saw and ran it through there. So same thing on the other side. So now I just need to come in and clean up this edge and then take it over to the layout. I measured twice and cut once, so hopefully it'll work out, but I'll get these cleaned up, take them over to the layout, and make sure it all fits. All right, well, I had to take a little bit extra off this side because the track is not perfectly parallel to the backdrop, so slightly off. So I just sanded some extra off the edge there all the way down the side of that wall, and it's pretty tight, but it fits. And there's room here. If I think about the alignment of this structure, I don't think I actually want to put it all the way over in the corner. And initially this was where I had it because it was going to be like an L-shaped building, and so a part of it was going to be in here like that to kind of hide some of that plain blue backdrop I had before. But like I said, with the way these trees look, especially when you're down here, I don't really want to cover that up. I think that'll look good just kind of blending in to the scenery there. So the other nice thing about having it like this is I can spot one reefer at that door, and there's actually enough room here for me to spot another one at that door. So that's the plan. That's awfully tight there. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's see if I can come around the corner and kind of zoom in. So I know there's some tape between the loading dock and the wall there, so it would come away from the track just a little bit, but I think I'm going to actually go ahead and take a little bit more using the sander, just a little bit more off that end there, and just maybe move it over another millimeter or so. So that's the plan, and that's how it's coming together. And I'm just using a fairly coarse sanding stick there and holding it with one hand and just running this back and forth with the other. So it's taking it off pretty evenly, and I'll just clean up the whatever burrs are on the edge as I go. So pretty straightforward. Shouldn't take too much longer to get that fitting quite well. All right, I got some more taken off that edge there. So I've got it in kind of where it's gonna sit. And there's sort of spot 1 and spot 2. So we have, phone's not focusing right here. So we've got the clearance we need now. Nice and tight, so it'll look good, but I'll come this way. See if I can do this with one hand. Sorry for the shaky camera, but you can see that little space there, pretty consistent. So that's where she's gonna sit. So from here, I think it's time to bring these pieces out that have been sitting here forever, start cleaning up these burrs, clean up the edges. Probably this has been sitting here for long enough to gather a lot of dust, so probably going to need to do a little bit of soap and water, washing this thing off, and then start painting. All right, so here's all the parts and pieces I'm gonna need for the main structure of the building. All cleaned up, sanded off all the little burrs and whatnot. So I think what I'm gonna do is come over the whole thing with like a brick red, and then I'm gonna come in with tape and mask off the brick, and then spray it with like a concrete color, because there's a lot of concrete here. Other than the very top here, I think this piece, well, maybe the windowsills, which I would just probably hand paint. So that one I can just pretty much spray like a brick red and leave it. And then of course over on the other side, you've got sort of that combination of brick and cement. I like that look. That's one of the reasons I picked this building for the spot, but it does create a little extra work with the masking work that you have to do. So you have to kind of spray it twice to get that look. But I'm up for it. I did it before, and I'll show you that building here real quick. So this building here had the same technique. I sprayed the whole thing a brick color, then masked off those little brick sections and sprayed it with, yeah, it's a little yellow for concrete, but, or red, I guess, yellow red. This building, I used a different tone of concrete. I didn't want all the buildings to look the same. So the brewery is going to sit on the other side of the soap company over here. So yeah, maybe I'll go for something more like that. Maybe something in between that and that, but, that's the basic technique. Then of course I got some weathering with powders and stuff too. So before painting, I just washed everything off with warm water, dish soap, and then blotted it pretty good and dry, and then let it air dry so that the paint will take better. And a lot of those parts that had been sitting on the layout for a long time taped together had a good little coating of dust and scenery debris and whatnot on them. So just wanted to get all that off and leave a nice substrate for the paint to adhere to. I'm not sure how much of this anybody's ever gonna see, but there were some little round divots, I guess, where the plastic came into the sprues here. There's a couple there at the bottom I'm not gonna worry about. But some of these ones up at the top, that's the concrete structure that the water tower sits on in the corner of the structure. So I'm just going through with this Vallejo plastic putty, filling them in. I'll file them down, and these are all concrete. Same with the loading dock, had a spot on it, the stairs. But once I get this filed down, I'll need to paint this sort of the orangey red brick color I chose for this structure. And in the meantime, I've been playing around with which of these sort of concrete-like colors do I want. These are the Rust-Oleum camouflage colors. This one is sand, and that one is khaki. And so I just did some test sprays, sand on the left, khaki on the right. I think I'm gonna go with khaki for the cement on this structure. All right, and just a quick check-in on this. Has got 2 coats of just a rattle can. It is Rust-Oleum Satin Cinnamon. It's kind of an orangey color, which is kind of cool, something a little bit different. And I'm trying something different here. Sometimes when I do weathering on the freight cars, I use satin and gloss finishes, which allow oil-based paints to flow better. And so my thinking here is, with this satin finish on the brick, I might mix up to do the mortar lines. I'm going to try using an oil-based wash. Probably just like an off-white oil color, thinned down pretty good, and just see how that might run better into the that satin finish. Then I've done it with acrylics before, and sometimes it's hard to get it to stay down in the cracks. It kind of wants to white out sort of the face of the brick. So I don't know, I'm just gonna try something different. If it doesn't work, what's the worst that can happen, right? I just start over. I'll just brush, spray over the top, back to the orange and try again. So I'm gonna try that, and then I obviously don't want it to have this shiny finish to it when it's done. So I can just fire up the airbrush and hit the whole thing with a matte coat when it's all said and done. That'll also help set any powders or anything like that. All right. Well, I've got most of those little marks from the molding process or whatever filled in and sanded. on the side of here. There was some on the side of the, I don't know if it's showing up in the video, but I cleaned up the loading dock a little bit and the top of these towers, basically the support structure for that water tower. And I was kind of digging into here with it and kind of trying not to get it on the brick. This one has that too, but then, so there's a mark here. Let me see if I can zoom in and there. You can barely see them, but I think they're going to be down against the roof. Like the roof of the building rests on that little cross member there. So I think I'm just going to forget about trying to clean that up. The ones up here, I mean, even this might not even be that visible, but I just wanted it to be so that no matter what angle you're viewing that brewery from, the inside of that superstructure or the inside of that concrete structure that holds up the water tank, you know, looks solid. I don't want to see those little circles on the plastic. You know, it was like this, but up there above the roof line where you'd actually be able to see it. So just a quick little in progress. Again, for that, I just used plastic putty, put some water in a little tub like this, kind of wet my finger, put the plastic putty on the pallet over there with a wet finger, grab some and kind of smooth it around in there, let it dry for, you know, at least, you know, 12 or 16 hours, and then come in with all my various, you know, I've got a coarse sander and a couple finer things, and then that's 600 grit paper that I use to clean up flat edges and stuff like that. So I'm not an expert at this, but just, you know, watching a lot of other guys do it, this is how I'm doing it, and these pieces are getting ready. Now that I've got this done, I need to get this side of them painted that cinnamon color because there's brick there, and then once that dries, I need to come back and there's some right there, so I got to hit that too. So just a quick in progress, and just to show, coming onto the back of the buildings up above the roof line, there's brick, and so I've hit all the parts with the cinnamon satin finish for that brick. Rats. I found a couple more of those little circle spots that I missed the first go around. It's not in the brick, but it's in the area that's going to be the concrete color. So I went ahead and filled them in. Those are going to be visible as each one of these sits something like that. So it's visible above the roof. So I'm going to clean it up and let that dry, file it down, and then hopefully by that point the brick color will be cured enough for me to feel confident with trying that diluted white, you know, off-white oil paint wash that I'm going to try for the mortar here. So little delay, no worries. All right, I just did the oil-based version of the mortar wash, and it's still kind of wet, so it's hard to see, but I definitely think I'm getting a smoother, you know, cleaner mortar look. Some stuff there to clean up, but that's actually going to be around the side of the building where you won't even be able to see it. There's the main one. Again, there's a lot of, if I come at an angle like that, you might be able to see it a little bit better. So I think my plan is let this dry, you know, a little bit overnight, and then I might tomorrow try to rub a little bit of the white off the surface of the bricks here and there. I'm going to let that sit for now. Yeah, like these right here did a little better. So that what's visible from the front, if I just pan back, is going to be this piece and the two skinny ones, that one and that one. The rest of this stuff is all around the side. So once this all cures, I will, like I say, try to rub a little of the excess where there's a line like right there. Try to feather that out a little bit, and this is oil, so I'll be able to do that. I'm gonna let it cure for a little while, and then maybe try to come and clean that up a little bit, maybe tomorrow. And after that, let it cure completely. And then I'll put masking tape over the brick, and then I'll use the rattle can to get all the cement parts. And then just to show you what I used, it's just titanium white, and I thinned it way down with odorless spirits. And then I just used a nice wide brush like that, and I kind of took it and I'd load up the brush with the wash, and then I would just kind of dab it on, and it would just flow like crazy, way more than acrylics. You know, when you do a water-based one like that, it definitely flowed better. It was easier to work with. So I think I'm on the right track here, maybe. But I used a satin coat. It might have done even better had I used gloss. So more experimentation to come, but so far so good. I'm liking this adjustment. All right, well, I came in this morning and just kind of wiped some of the excess off the surface of the bricks, and I am liking that technique. I think that's a winner. So I've got the pieces here arranged sort of how they are going to be. This is the front of the building, and then that's the right side, and that's the left side. So yeah, I think that worked out pretty well. Just to kind of bring in close, I feel like acrylics make a bigger mess than that, but these oils with a satin, and probably even better with a gloss finish on there prior, really flow into the cracks well. And then, like I say, I just came in here once everything had kind of dried up a little bit, put a little bit of thinner on there, and just gently wiped the surface of the bricks to get, there's a couple places where there was some brush strokes and things like that that were visible. So I've kind of blended all that in, and yeah, I really like how this turned out. So I will be masking off the bricks now and moving on towards concrete. But before I do that, this video is running long, so I'm going to go ahead and stop here. Keep working on this, and probably release a second video. Hopefully just take one more to finish this up. But I'll stop there. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope everyone is well and safe. Thanks everybody.